Hello, Earth Angels, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Academy. I have the biggest treat for you guys today. I am bringing on my literal best friend of 10 years? If you're new to me, you might think that I've just always been doing this. I've always been the most confident, amazing version of myself, and that is truly not the case. And sometimes it's hard for me to explain to you guys how difficult my corporate journey was, and me quitting my job, and all those different eras of my life, even my breakup. There was so many pivotal moments of my life that I feel like I just front facing that you're just not going to get the behind the scenes of them. So I thought, what better person to bring on than my best friend who's been through literally all of those things with me. So today I'm going to bring on my best friend. She's obviously right here. Her name is Amanda Lotwin. And me and Amanda have been friends since college. So just some backstory. You guys know that I worked at Under Armour for 4 years, but before I officially worked there, when I was in college, my actual first manifestation, my biggest manifestation, was me getting an internship role at Under Armour. And so me and Amanda, we were roommates during my summer of my junior year, and then we both went back to work at Under Armour, and we've been best friends since. So that's kind of some backstory, but I'm going to let her speak for herself. So without further ado, Amanda, welcome to Alignment Academy.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I sound extra nasally. I'm having an allergy moment. So
we don't know if it's my dog or California.
I don't know. I'm allergic to something, so pardon my extra nasaliness.
So I want you guys to get to know Amanda a little bit. So Amanda, tell everyone a little bit about who you are, what you do, where you work, where you live. Give them some backstory about who you are.
Yes. So yeah, I met Kristen in in the 2010s, 2015, 2016, something like that. It's all blending together. But I have stayed in the corporate world. So I work in tech. I work at a tech startup. Outside of that, I'm a fitness instructor, and I have been since high school. So going on 12 years. I do that a lot. I teach at Core Power now, which I love.
Shout out Core Power girlies.
Shout out Core Power. Kristen and I went through a big Core Power phase together in Baltimore, huge. I would just pretend I was in a meeting and just go to Core Power and come back just mysteriously sweaty from the meeting. But yeah, what else? I live in New York. I've lived there for 3 years. New York City, Manhattan. And what else? Yeah, I moved from Baltimore to New York. So after you left, I left a little bit after you leaving Baltimore, and then moved to New York. And now I'm there, and now we're bi-coastal besties.
Yeah, we're bi-coastal besties. So we see each other probably twice a year now.
Should we tell people who aren't watching what we're wearing?
Yeah. So by the way, we're in matching t-shirts. We got some best friend t-shirts. I love getting little things with my best friends. Me and Brie have matching bracelets. Now me and you have matching t-shirts. And it's just a cute bestie thing. Yeah. So if you see us and you're why are they wearing the same shirt? It's by design. They're best friend shirts.
Best friend shirts. And this is my official podcaster shirt because I've never done a podcast before. And now this will be every time I podcast, I wear this shirt because exactly one time.
Are you going to be on only my podcast or more?
I don't know, but now this is my shirt. This is my podcasting shirt. So I'm in my podcasting uniform, and Kristen's matching with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Best t-shirts.
Okay. So let's start at the beginning. So I think that the beautiful part of our friendship is that we honestly have seen each other through so many phases of life. And I think that this most special thing about me and Amanda's friendship is when I was in college, I was doing a lot of things that didn't feel natural to me. Maybe I don't always tell you guys, but I always tell people that are close to me, even in college, I didn't like drinking, and I was going out drinking 6 times a week. And I think that when I went to the internship, this was a pivotal moment in my life because my friend group, I was I'm actually just going to be myself for the first time. I'm not going to pretend I like all these things that I don't. I'm not going to pretend that I'm this huge party girl because I'm not. And I think that the reason that I love you so much is because I feel you were one of the first people that accepted me for who I really am. And yeah, what was that? I guess let's talk about the first time we met.
Yeah. I mean, I feel not even necessarily the first time we met, but first meeting you was weird, not weird for me, but you just you were just different. one time Kristen said to me like, I don't think I'm going to be like, we did the corporate thing. We were actively doing the corporate thing. And Kristen was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to just like be in corporate America for very long. Like, I don't really want to do this anymore. And I was like, remember when we filled out, sorry, I'm jumping around a lot, when we filled out our 401ks when we first started our job. So this is after the internship. So I'm kind of like jumping ahead. We're filling out our 401k forms like 3 months after we were supposed to. So like we lost some capital gains there. But anyway, we were filling that out and it was like, how long, basically it's like, how long do you want to do this for? Like, when are you going to retire? And we landed on 48 years from that year, which was 2017. And I was like, 48 years, like, I don't think I can do like 48 more minutes of this, like, genuinely. And you were like, I don't think I'm going to be in this system for very long. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Because I just personally like hadn't seen, now that I've thought about it, I actually have more examples of this than I thought. But at the time I hadn't really like internalized any examples of like, you can do whatever, not whatever, you can do whatever you want, or you can do so many things. You can like make your gifts your livelihood. Career. And I just didn't really know that. So I was like, all right, crazy. I was like, didn't get it at all. I was like, okay, like, what are you gonna do? Like, I just didn't know.
Did you ask me what I was gonna do? Okay, the other thing about me, guys, is I have a really bad memory. So Amanda remembers way more of my life.
Yeah,
than
Kristen doesn't remember anything.
It's not good.
Well, also
not that
though,
that's a
I will
flex.
say, I feel like you don't remember a lot of things from like a part of your life where I think you maybe were like not like figuring out who you were, and like, I don't know. I feel like you remember things from like parts of your life that felt like you, but I feel like you sometimes don't remember things from like the before times or when you were figuring out. I don't know what that means, or like,
I think it's like I dissociate a lot.
Yeah.
Like I dissociated a lot when I was little.
Yeah.
And I still think that I have to actively try to be present sometimes. I have to be like, no, you're here. Like, you need to remember this. And so it's interesting though, because Amanda has such a good memory. Like the fact that she remembers that we landed on 48 years. I'm like, I barely remember that moment. How do you remember 48 years?
I have a really freaky memory. I do. And Chris, so we have opposite memories. And so sometimes I remember things.
She's like, do you remember this thing about you? Or like when you dated this boy? And I'm like, honestly, no. And she's like, oh, well, this is what happened. And I'm like, oh yeah. But it's funny. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that like, I don't even remember kind of having that mindset, but I just knew from the second that I was unhappy, I was like, there's just no shot I can sit in this cube for a long time.
And I think a lot of people feel that way, but I just had never heard anyone be like, not only do I not like it, which I think that makes sense, but like, I'm not going to do it. And I was like, okay, how are you going to eat? Like, I just like didn't get it. And there were like, I think a lot of little moments like that, like when we, like kind of jumping back to when we first met, I was 20 when we first met. And so, I mean, yeah, that was like almost 10 years ago. And you would just be like, we'd all be like going out drinking or doing something. And you'd be like, I don't want to do that, but not, I don't know, in a way that was like, it just doesn't feel like you wouldn't, I don't think you were using the word like aligned at that time, but you were just like, yeah, I just don't want to like do whatever. And I'd be like, oh, like cool. Like you just were coming at it like, in a different way than I
think I just had maybe like a different perspective on all of it than all of our friends, which were just, and I mean, like literally there's no judgment here. We were 20 years old. Like we were all drinking.
Also, I mean, I drank. Like I feel like Kristen and I also too are like different. Like we definitely are different. Our lifestyles are different. Like I think like the things that we do, the way that like we go, like when we go out, like what that means are like totally different. And so this is not like, I don't know. We're really different in that way, or just like the way that we live. But
yeah. I think that we just have very similar, like, I don't know, we've stayed friends for so long because I think we both can like respect where each other comes from.
Yeah. And we have a really, I think, strong Venn diagram of like values and things that we have in common. I think also like for context, like sometimes when Kristen talks about like different things she's going down or like, you know, things she's researching or learning about, like I don't know what she's talking about like sometimes.
But I feel like you're interested in enough where you'll let me talk about it and you'll like give your opinion and then we like kind of go to the next topic.
Yeah. But I also think like I guess like for people to have context, like I am like spiritual, but I'm always like learning and kind of figuring out what that means. And I'm definitely in like the shallow end, as where Kristen has like swum in the deep end.
The very deep end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
but
like,
I think that you have, like, I don't think that you're giving yourself enough credit either because Amanda has, what I told her yesterday, I'm like, we have enough overlap where our frequencies can still like really fuck with each other, and we have so much history and like so much respect for each other. Like you've done inner child work, you've done in shadow work, you like Amanda just surprises me. Like she's done readings with like astrologers and psychics or whatever. And the other day, you know, she doesn't even follow me on TikTok, so she doesn't really know about my Joe Dispenza.
I don't have TikTok, by the way. Like I don't just strategically not follow Kristen. I just don't have TikTok.
Yeah. So you're not on TikTok, but she was just like, oh, by the way, Kristen, I'm reading Joe Dispenza's book. And I was like, what? And she was like, it's really good. And I'm like, wow, slay. Like I didn't know that you were into Joe Dispenza. So I feel like you do surprise me with just like what you kind of go down the rabbit hole, even if it's just like on your own time and by yourself, which is why I feel like we still fuck with each other.
Yeah. I think also like these things like the inner child work and the shadow work and a lot of things like those have made like tangible differences in my life. Like you've seen that with me too. Like you've seen like I mean you obviously like I'm not they wouldn't know anything about me, but like I was also not like the person I am today, which like isn't, you know, done evolving either. But like I, you know, struggled a lot, and like there were things that like ways that Kristen was like, I don't know, introduced me to some things that like I then learned about on my own. But like, you know, that's a huge like tangible thing. So I feel like we do have a commonality of like speak enough of a common language about those things where like even if you're deeper or like we're like it's a Venn diagram, but like that middle of the Venn diagram is like strong enough that like keeps us together.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. We both worked at Under Armour, and when we were at our corporate jobs, I feel like you were the person that saw me the most miserable out of anyone at all. Because so Under Armour had these two different buildings that you could work at. And there was the main building, and then there was building 37. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. And the main building, there was a campus, like an awesome campus with like an awesome gym where all of our friends worked, and it was like so cool. And then we worked in this like other building that was like in the middle of the field, and it was actually like literally half a mile away. So it's like not like we were somewhere random, but it was like we were just not at the cool place. We were at, and it was where they put like, I mean, honestly, the less hot people, but not for that reason. It was
just like the IT
was there, accounting was there.
Yeah.
And like,
I worked in accounting at the time.
Yeah. And I'm a tech nerd to this day. So no shade to my
people.
To my people. But like, you know, sometimes we're just not as hot. And it's okay. But yeah.
So for the first year at Under Armour, we were in this like same building together. And honestly, we had a very unhealthy friendship. Like we were codependent to the max, eating disorder to the max.
Like beyond.
Like we were like counting macros. We were waking up at 6 a.m. every single morning and like forcing
we were at the gym by 6.
Yeah, we were like forcing ourselves to work out so hard. And I personally, I'm not going to speak for you, I fucking hated my job.
Yeah.
Like I hated it.
I think I couldn't even, like, I didn't really know that I could hate my job until I met, like, you, not saying you encouraged me to hate my job, but like, I just didn't really know that was an option. I was just like, this is what everyone does, and this is how it feels, whatever. And like, you know, whatever. I hadn't even really like thought about whether or not I liked it at all. And I had never really even thought about like leaving. Like, I think thoughts of change, I don't know. I think I used to really struggle with things changing too. So when people would be like, I'm going to leave Under Armour, I'm going to leave Baltimore, I'd be like, wait, but what about our life? Like, I don't know. And so like, also too, when you left Under Armour, like we had this, so I'm jumping around so much, but we had this like chat tool, like a corporate, like whatever, we'd like, you know, ping each other.
What was it called again?
Jabber.
Oh yeah.
If it's like an old, like if you're a corporate person, like, you know, pre-Teams, pre-whatever, like Jabber. And it was just like a bare bones, like chat thing. And Kristen and I would Jabber like literally like every second, every day.
Every second of every day. Like get online at 8 a.m. Hi.
Kristen, one time I was sharing my screen during a meeting, and Kristen texted me every ingredient of her Chipotle order, one ingredient at a time. And I didn't turn my notifications off. So it was just like, and I'm like presenting a thing, and it's like rice, beans, like whatever, like in the corner, like we were jabbering all day, and we had nicknames for everyone. Remember? We had nicknames for like all of our crushes. We had so many crushes. Like I would say 60% me, 40% you. Crushes on everyone.
Who did I have crushes on?
I mean, we had a shared crush on Hot Daddy S, who I ended up making out with.
Wait, Wait, the CEO or the...
No, he was like high up in accounting.
You made out with him?
Yeah.
When?
like years later, he got divorced.
Did I still work at Under Armour?
No. Like this was right before I left Baltimore.
Girl, did you tell me that?
Yeah, dude, definitely. Yes. Okay, so maybe Kristen remembers less than I. But also, I when I'm single, I'm kissing people, so that's probably, it's hard to remember sometimes. But anyway, we had like nicknames for everyone. We would literally like, we had a nickname for like the people that sat around me, that like there was like drama with them on my side, so like we had all these nicknames, and I'd just be like chatting about them, and they're sitting right next to me and whatever. So we would be like chatting constantly. And when Kristen, the day that your last day at Under Armour, we kept being like, is this our last jabber? And then be like, I don't know, is this like, we were literally having like a funeral for it all day, just being like, okay, last one, like, bye, love you. Like, okay, no, this is the last one. Like, we were so like not okay.
Oh my
and yeah,
God.
we were like just, yeah, entrenched in like eating disorder, severe eating disorder behavior that like, I honestly, part of the way that like, I mean, I had like a pretty severe eating disorder, and Kristen was a huge part of helping me with that. Cause just like of being like, oh, maybe this isn't normal. And like, you were the first person I could say that to, you know? So I feel like our friendship was always like a kind of safe space for like some pretty heavy shit. But yeah,
I do remember when you told me about your eating disorder.
We were just like I think we were just like walking down the stairs like to go home, and I just like said it.
You were like, I have an eating disorder.
Something's like wrong. Yeah. But yeah.
And then
what was the question?
I don't remember. I think, I don't really remember what we were talking about, but I think that, I think I was saying you saw me like really, really struggling.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like watching me hate. So I moved 4 times, just for 4 different jobs.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Remember? Like I literally jumped jobs like every 8 months.
And if you weren't moving your job, you were moving your house.
I was always making it. I think I was trying so hard to like make anything work that I was like, well, maybe if I change this, it will work. And like, maybe if I change this, it will work. And like, maybe if I change my job, it will work. And like, I really fucking tried at corporate. You have to admit, I tried.
Oh, you did.
I tried.
You tried like 4 things. You tried so much. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think also too, you tried to make it work for you, like lifestyle wise. You were even thinking like, could I like work remote in this environment? Would that help? Would like working out at this time, like to make my day, like in the middle of the day, whatever, would that help? Like all these things. And it just, like it just didn't stick. And I feel like it was, I don't know. Yeah, it was hard. Like it was hard.
It was hard. It was hard for sure. Today's episode is brought to you by Alignment Academy, the membership. I created this membership to offer a crazy affordable and safe space for you to heal your deepest wounds, build unshakable confidence, and activate your highest timeline. Imagine being surrounded by a community that truly gets you and not feeling freaking crazy or like you're knocked off your path by trigger after trigger after trigger. Because believe me, I've been there. In order to actually heal, you kind of got to sit your booty down and do the freaking work to actually reprogram your subconscious mind and create higher self-worth through your actions. When you enroll in Alignment Academy, you're going to gain access to an extensive library of 7 past masterclasses, 6 of my best-selling meditations, along with a new monthly masterclass to help you guys transform, grow, and actually take action towards your goals. Every month, we also have live inner work meditations led by me with topics such as inner child work, shadow work, future visioning, playing in the quantum field, and so much more. And if you're wondering, where the heck is my soul family and why is the spiritual journey so lonely? I'm telling you, they're inside of Alignment Academy. Everyone in there is truly a special frequency. We're all talking about Joe Dispenza meditations. We're talking about entrepreneurship, trailblazing our own path, healing our inner child wounds, shadow work, how to set empowering boundaries. It's such a high vibe conversation, and I can't wait for you to experience it yourself. If you were to buy a live coaching call with me, plus all the masterclasses, plus all the meditations just as one-off things, it would be over $5,000. And I'm offering this all to you for $77 per month. I am calling in people who are here for the long haul and really trying to do the healing work. But if you don't like it, you can cancel anytime. If you're interested in joining us, you can enroll with the link below, and I can't wait to see you inside. And then I quit my corporate job, and so we both loved Core Power, which our dear friend Carson introduced. I know she introduced me to Core Power. How did you get introduced to Core Power?
I had already been a few times.
Okay, so you might have been.
Yeah.
But so Carson was going to Core Power all the time, and then me and Amanda kind of like started going, and then I did teacher training there, and I was starting to teach, and they were like, hey, we know you hate your corporate job. Like, do you want to work as the studio assistant at Core Power? And I feel like I had been, I don't know, from your point of view, I feel like I had been saying I wanted to quit for like at least 2 years, but I hadn't pulled the trigger yet.
Yeah. Like it was, I mean, I think you were trying not to, because like the edge of the cliff was like so scary, right? Like, what would that be like financially, lifestyle? Like, I think lifestyle, you knew it would work, but like, it's just hard. I think it's too when you're not seeing a lot of people who are doing things like that. And like when you're raised in an environment where people do have just like are on a certain path and have certain jobs and stick with it and don't quit, all these things. There's also like stigma around quitting and doing something else, and scary to start over. So like, it makes sense that you didn't quit. Honestly, I would say 2 years in the corporate world is actually really, really, really fast as far as like knowing you're unhappy and getting out. But like those 2 years were excruciating for you. So.
And I think I was there for more than 2 years though, like total. I think I had 3 or 4 in the corporate world, because I had 4 jobs. I had 4 different jobs.
Some of them you were in like really short.
Yeah, I know. So,
because I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was 2 years. But like the longest 2 years ever, and like moving. But some of your jobs were in the same department, so it wasn't like major. Really, you had the one big switch from accounting to HR, but you had multiple jobs in both of those departments.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, who knows how long I was in the corporate world. I was miserable the whole time. And then I decided to quit and go teach yoga, which changed our relationship, but we talked about this last night. Like, it was actually healthy when I stopped working at Under Armour, because me and Amanda would like go work out together. We would go to work and jabber all day. Then we would be like, do you want to go do this after school? And then like, or after school, well, we were kind of at school. Like, it was,
we would call it jail. We literally be like, when are you getting out of jail? Because also sometimes neither of our jobs were really that busy. So we'd spend a lot of time like sitting at our computers, like just literally just having to be there, because it's like not cool to go home at 3 p.m. And this was pre-COVID, so like now I think it's better, but I also don't really work in the office anymore either. So but like, you can't just be like, I'm done for today, like I'm gonna go home and do laundry and maybe like hop on and do something. It like wasn't the vibe. So we'd be like, okay, it ends at 3,
sitting
and, like,
around,
I haven't been doing anything, and like we'd be like, can we leave yet? Can we like just figuring out when we could leave?
I'm in jail still, like 2 more hours till I get out of jail. Like, we would literally call it jail. Because it's weird. Like, isn't it weird to you guys that when you're done with your work, you can't fucking go home? Like, that was my life. Like, I was done with my work, I had nothing to do, but I couldn't go home. And I remember another like really hard part that I don't know if like we've ever openly spoken about, but I don't know, I mean, I'm just gonna say it anyway. Like, Amanda was in IT. I was in HR. Like, I know you were making a lot more money than me at the time. And then for me to think like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be making even less money than all my friends. Like, I'm going to be so much more far behind than them. Like, I'm already far behind because a lot of our friends were in IT. A lot of them were making a lot of money. And like, I feel like for, fresh out of college people, like, you guys were kind of killing it for that time period. Like, you guys
in Baltimore.
In Baltimore, like, you guys were just making a lot of money, because we had this entire friend group from our internship that was just kind of like grandfathered into our work environment. And like, I just remember being really, really scared that like, dang, I'm going to be so far behind now. And that was really hard for me, even though maybe I never said that out loud.
No, that makes sense. I do think that makes sense. And it was a scary jump. Like, you didn't know what that looked like. And like, it's a lot.
What was it like for you to see me go from corporate to like just figuring it out on my own?
Yeah. I mean, it was cool. Like, I feel like it was, I don't know, like messy, but like not like, I don't know, because I think you also were trying to do some other things on top of the yoga. Like, you were doing that like freelance marketing stuff. What was the thing with the crabs?
I was like
it was like, well,
I was like doing a lot of social media marketing for all these like small businesses, and there was
and that coffee shop, that really cute one. Like, you were just doing a lot, but you were like, it was inspirational though. You were like really scrappy. You were really scrappy.
Super scrappy.
You were just like learning. You were taking those Facebook marketing like courses. Like, you were doing like a lot, and you were busy. Like, you were working, and you were making like a schedule for yourself every day. You were either at the studio and you were working, or you'd like go to a coffee shop, and you were like really like, you were making it happen. You were like, I'm going to make this sustainable for myself, and like, I'm going to do something. And like, you knew that like yoga too wasn't where you were going to like make the kind of money that you wanted to make.
Yeah.
And not just in that like one application of yoga, being the studio assistant at Core Power. Like, and so you were like, I'm going to do it another way. I'm going to find something scalable. And like, even though that wasn't your thing, like, I think you were getting closer and closer and closer to like the way that you wanted to, like the lifestyle you wanted to lead. I also remember you like, should we tell them about our Finstas?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kristen and Kristen had a very active Finsta. I go through phases with mine. But
fake Instas.
Fake Instagrams, yes.
This is like honestly, Amanda calls them Rinstas because she thinks that they're real Instas.
That's where my real self lives.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of cool.
My real internet self. But yeah. And one day I'll take mine public and we can collab.
I always tell her, like, if Amanda really just like let herself be public, like she would be the funniest internet personality.
I'm scared. I'm like, I want to be able to like get a security clearance. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'd say too much. But I think like, so we had corresponding like fake Instagram and like Finsta's just like, you know, your private, your close friends content basically, but in another account. And ours would like, all my friends who had like never met Kristen like knew who Kristen was because like we were always collabing on our Finstas. So
we
like,
just like tag each other.
And then you started to make, I don't think you made your Finsta private, but you just started to move your content over. So you just started to put like, you were doing yoga and doing like spirituality on main. And it went from like, your old Instagram was like kind of like, I don't know, not like party vibes, but like it was like a South Carolina, like sorority girl, like who goes out, who's like, you know, just like being hot. And like, and then you started to post more yoga and you started to post like stuff. And I remember you saying like, I just feel like, I don't know what it is, but like writing and like speaking is part of what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know how, but you were like, it's like, that's like part of it. So like, I feel like your marketing and all these other things you were doing and like yoga had you starting to have like a little platform of like sitting down at the front of your mat and talking to people at the beginning of class and telling them like what's on your mind and what's on your heart. And like, you're using all of that now, but like you knew you had like just this intuition of, you knew that was something that you were supposed to develop and like you developed it in your own way. But it was like cool now looking back, knowing like where you've kind of landed and like how you're growing now. It's cool to like see how that was very true. Like that was very true. Like writing and speaking are like so part of like the value that you bring. So it's cool to be like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And I think that honestly happens to everyone though. Like I think that we have these little pieces of us, whether it's like, you know, all of our friends came to me for advice too. Mm-hmm. You know, all of our friends, like if they were having a problem, they would be like, oh, let me like see what Kristen would say back to this boy, or like, let me see what Kristen would do about this. And I always knew that these little things like speaking and teaching yoga and like standing out and using my voice, like I knew that those were key parts. I just didn't know how it was all going to come together. And I think that that's how you have to look at your life. Like you're not going to ever be able to see how it actually is going to unfold for you, but you have to just follow these like little nuggets. Like if you're into astrology, like just take the astrology course. Like if you're into social media, like take the social media course. And I wasted so much money on courses now that I'm looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I wasted thousands and thousands of dollars, but it wasn't really ever a waste because it led me exactly where I was meant to go. It's just so hard to tell people that before you can see the end of the story.
Yeah. And it was like not easy. It was not an easy transition. Like that was really hard. That was really, really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we were also like boys and eating disorders and I got my heart broken by that boy, Matt. Like it was just,
yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
It was hard.
I think another really hard part about adulthood was like when you moved to New York and I moved to LA and like we were really trying to like, obviously we weren't talking as much as we were at Under Armour, but like I think that a period of life that is not spoken about enough is like that transitional period when you're moving to a new city and you have no friends and you're trying to date for the first time and you're just like all of those things were really hard for us. So even you moved to New York City, like let's talk about your transition. So you finally left Under Armour. Tell us what happened after that.
What happened after that? Yeah, I'm still in the corporate world. So I got another, I moved into tech startup space. So went to like a 7-person, I was the 7th hire at a tech startup that was remote, but I was kind of like, you know, manifesting or moving towards this like job, I wanted to be in New York, but then COVID hit and I was like, is that like a weird thing to do now? It's like the epicenter of this pandemic, whatever. And I was just like, fuck it. Like can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, fuck it. Like rent is cheap and like whatever. So I moved. I got a remote job that was based in New York and I moved. and vibes were weird. It was the middle of the pandemic, but I am very lucky to have like a lot of people that I love in New York, and so that was amazing. And then I was there, well, I'm still in New York, but I was at that job for a little over 2 years, and I got laid off. And then,
oh my God, you went through a couple of rock bottoms in New York.
Yeah, I have. Like most of my rock bottoms, I feel like have been like heartbreak. I have a lot of cancer in my chart, and I'm not an astrology
girly.
I teach yoga, so like I'm around a lot of conversations about astrology constantly, so I have like a beginner's understanding. But I don't know. I mean, we're all mostly made up of water, so like I don't. It's probably true. Like I don't know. I just don't really know. Like I don't really know a lot about it. Yeah. But I do. But I made a joke yesterday. You were like, I wonder what my Venus is. I
was like, I wonder where your Venus is, and you were like, probably Cancer.
And Kristen was like, I feel like it's Pisces because you're like a really big like I'm a lover girl. I really am. And you were like, it's probably in Pisces. I was like, no, I feel like it's probably in Cancer. And she'd be like, you were like, that would be worse. And I was like, yeah, then I think that's right.
And then we looked it up at the end of the night, and I was like, you're right. Your Venus is in Cancer.
Yeah, like that tracks. But so like, yeah, a few just like unnecessarily large heartbreaks, but like,
I feel like you went through a couple. Wasn't there like a heartbreak and a job loss?
Yeah, I was kind of just like a weird, unexpected heartbreak, not like in a super traditional way, combined with getting laid off and my rent going up 100%. So I was basically like at a point where I had to move because my rent doubled, and I didn't have a job. And if you don't live in New York, a lot of places don't let you apply for the apartment if you are unemployed and not a student, because they're like, what are you doing? So it's hard, or it was hard for me. A lot of places were like that, and just like the market was crazy. So I was at this point where I was like, I might have to move home. Like I'm gonna have to figure it out. My savings is like dwindling. And at my layoff, I was very well taken care of. And like, it was a really amicable situation, blessing that it happened. But like, I knew there was like, I had to trust like that I was like jumping into like, that there was a net. I was kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna like, I signed a new place without a job, and was like, well, like, okay, I'm gonna trust that something's coming, and something came. And it was something that has like taken me to London a lot, and London's like a very special and whatever place for me. But anyway, yeah, lots of like little rock bottoms. And I think the weird thing about not being on opposite coasts as you, and like, not talking all the time, is like you just kind of don't know like the little things. And we used to know like the little things to a degree that was like we were unwell. Like we just knew I knew
what you ate for lunch.
I knew everything that Kristen ate, and like we knew everything that each other ate, and like what we were wearing at all times, and every conversation. There was no sense of mystery, no space. And then you go from that to being like having a lot of space, and then like big things are happening, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like big things are happening, and it's like you don't always want to like reach out to your friends and tell them like the whatever. So you catch up, and you're like, oh yeah, I got laid off, or oh yeah, whatever. It's like that is a weird friendship change that
was hard.
Yeah,
that was definitely hard for both of us, as we just kind of like, I mean, I don't want to say like grew apart, because I think we're just still as close. Like when we are together, we catch back up, but like in a sense you do grow apart, because we live in different parts and different areas, and we have different main friends, and like we don't have the same friend group anymore. So it's just like more of like a high level catch up, which I think that in this trip it was so beautiful, because we were like, wow, we haven't had like this level of a catch up in a long time, because all of the times we've seen each other before, I was just going through it. So it was more like, let's get Kristen to a place where she can be okay, versus like let's catch up on a deep level.
Right.
But I want to talk about your rock bottoms, because I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast are either in a rock bottom, are getting out of a rock bottom, are going to go through a rock bottom. Like what are some perspective shifts, first of all, and then what are some like tangible things that you did that really helped you get out of those rock bottoms and like find a job and like figure it out? And like, do you feel like you're stronger on the other side of them?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm stronger. I mean, listen, I'm not an expert in any of these things, but I feel like the biggest thing for me and for a lot of people is like separating your like sense of worth, your sense of self from these like from other people's actions. And like you just like have no idea what's going on in other people's heads. And I used to be really in the trap of like putting my entire sense of like worth on how someone else feels about me, or how someone else is treating me, how someone else is whatever, and like cutting that. Like I'm still working on that, honestly, but that's a really big thing that's helped me out of so many rock bottoms, is just kind of trying to like snip that cord of like, okay, you treated me differently than how I would have treated you, and that's really hurtful, but like that doesn't make me less worthy, less whatever, and like working on that. And so I mean, the way I've approached that is like a lot of therapy, a lot of like CBT, good old cognitive behavioral, and I've tried a lot of other things. Like I've dipped my toe into a lot of like I don't know if it would be a deep end or not for like the listeners or for you, but like remember our shared shaman, and my friends like also too, like Kristen is not like my other friends, like in a lot of ways, like, and I remember telling one of my friends like, yeah, I'm like seeing this shaman on Zoom, she like lives off the coast of Madagascar, and they were like, are you joking? And I was like, no.
Forgot about my shaman.
If it helps, it helps. I don't know. I think if it makes you a better person, I feel that way about astrology.
She was
I feel
honestly a good shaman.
I have literally zero reference point for what makes someone a good shaman. No idea. Sure, yeah, like I've seen exactly one shaman, and she did what I think they do. She's like, you know, she's not casting a spell, but she's doing
energy work on us.
She's doing energy work on me. And you know what? That stuff made me cry. Like I would like cry so hard during it. I don't know. Like I feel like she moved something around and it helped. I mean, she was like, it was funny. She was like, you're gonna like meet someone really, really, at that point I had just moved to New York and I really wanted a boyfriend. And she was like, you're gonna meet someone really soon. And I said all these very specific things about him. And then I met that guy. And
really? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And met this guy, and then she was like, when I was like, yeah, like I met someone, and like I don't know, it feels like something. And she was like, the only thing that you need to watch out for is I think he's like a little too like lusty for you. She was like, I think he's like too proud of, like, he was a lot older, and she was like, I think he's too like proud of how like your looks and whatever, and I think that might be an issue. And that's almost exactly like a huge issue. It was just, so I was like, that's interesting. So I'm very much like, take it like whatever helps in the moment. If it doesn't hurt other people, like in general, then like pop off. Like I just don't think it's bad. So yeah, I've tried that. I mean, and at the time that was good. And I've done like relationship coaches.
Oh yeah, you did do you've done a lot of things.
Yeah, I've done a lot of meditation work and like kind of like asynchronous work, like with TBM and whatnot. Yeah, no, I've tried a lot of stuff. And the thing is, I'm very much like open to still trying new stuff. Like it's, if it helps, like, I mean, Kristen introduced me to like a therapist recently, and I had one session with, and it like wasn't for me. But I'm glad I tried it. Like, it's cool. It's just cool to try new things and see what other people think. But I feel like that's my biggest thing, is like detaching. And that's a very normal, I think, human thing. Like we all go through a degree of that, but like detaching other people's opinions of me, like from my worth and sense of self. And it's really helped. And it's just been like a combination of things, and also trying really, 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 really hard. Like I do think both of us, when we're trying to like heal from something or trying to move on or whatever, like we put in the work. That's like something that's in our shared Venn diagram. Like when I was in my like eating disorder, I was in an outpatient program, and when I was in that program, like my therapist said, like she might have just been like flattering me, but I'm going to say it's true. She was like, I've never seen someone like commit to this and like get to a good place so fast. Cause I put in, I was like,
you really, really wanted to heal your eating disorder.
Really wanted to be done with that. And I was in that for a really long time. It started when I was 8 until age 23. That's 15 years of a 23-year-old life. That's like a long time. So like, a long time. I put my whole tuchus into that, and
you did heal.
And yeah, like I'm in a really good place. I mean, I still, I'm a person, things come up, but like that also taught me that like I can, if I put in the effort, like if I put in the work, I can really tangibly change like my thought patterns, my lifestyle. Like it's not just like woo-woo stuff. Like all of this has made like a really significant difference in just like my sense of self. And I feel like a big role that you've played in my life is like you haven't been my like formal coach by any means. I mean, the amount of hours that, oh my God, like, but like the amount of hours that you've spent giving me like basically ad hoc coaching, which is like as normal friend stuff. We've been there for each other, but you've always like pointed me towards something to try that like, these things have made really big differences in my life. And so,
well, I think that at my core, I just don't believe that the reality we're living is just the reality that has to stay for the rest of our life, right? So like I really believe that at my core, it's like if you're seeing something in your reality that you don't like change it. Like that's one of my biggest values, is like if you don't like what you're seeing, you have the power to change it. I remember at my corporate job, one of my most favorite quotes that I literally would like write and see in my journal every day was like, you're not a tree. If you don't like where you are, move. Like I would say that to myself every day. Like you're not a fucking tree. You can get up and move if you don't like. And so I think that the thing that really inspired me and has kept us friends too is like, I don't like to be friends with people where it's like me telling them like make a change and they're not making a change. But every time that I feel like you have a problem that you want to change, you actually do make a change. And, you know, even you've gotten into Joe Dispenza stuff, and we were catching up yesterday, and you were like, it's been really making a difference of like noticing my thoughts and realizing that I don't have to listen to all the thoughts and changing them and actively saying, no, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, because there are so many times where if we allow ourselves to go down a rabbit hole of thoughts, like it is going to be, you are going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And you can just start to notice those patterns and be like, no, we're not going here. And you've been saying that you've been doing that with like self-worth, and like when you see men, and like I've been doing that even like with my breakup and stuff. Like I had to be like, no, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole because it's going to hurt if I go down it. So like, let me just not do it. And so I really admire that about you, that you really do put in the work to change your reality.
Thank you. Yeah, it is helpful. These things are like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people brush off like spiritual ideas they have never heard of or don't understand or seem deep in, but like a lot of it is like really, really tangible and really like, and I'm a very like, I'm a sciencey person. I'm very like, I don't know, I'm very much like in the shallow end of a lot of this, but like I literally notice now that I'm just like, okay, my thoughts make up my reality. What if I just started noticing my thoughts? And like, I didn't think of that. That's Joe. That's Daddy.
That's
Joe.
Daddy.
Thanks, Daddy. But I was like, you know, it's funny though, like how many times you don't realize how many times you think something a day until you notice that you're thinking it. And then it's like, oh my God, wait, this is like why these are making up like the core of my feelings. So like things of just like looking in the mirror and like thinking something and then moving on, whatever. Now I notice I'm like, no. Or like looking at something like, you know, on social media or whatever that you know is going to hurt your own feelings. Like, what do they call that? Hurt hunting? Like, I do that.
We've all
like,
done that.
And I'm just like, every time I go to do it, I'm like, why do you want to do that? Like, why do you want to think that? Why do you want to, you know, so it's just, yeah, it's helpful, but it takes work though.
I want to unpack that, because that is actually, I think, one of the best things that Joe Dispenza teaches is that you are so addicted to your emotions that when you're like, let's say you always hurt hunt. Let's say you always go look at your ex's profile or something, and you're just like, you're in the mood to hurt your own feelings. I've noticed that this had happened when I was healing from my breakup. When I was feeling okay, it actually felt so abnormal that I would go look for a place where I could go hurt again.
Yeah.
It's like you're literally addicted to the hurt. Like that feels more natural, and the familiar feeling feels better, even though it feels like shit, than just not. Like that's living in the unknown, is being like, oh wow, I actually feel good, but I haven't felt good in so long that good doesn't actually feel good right now. So it's interesting when you start to see what emotions you're addicted to.
Do you think that like, I think that's also something with like friendships. Like I know you talk about a lot about like your friendship wounds, which I've been there for like a few like of the really big ones, like for you. And do you think it's the same for like when you have a toxic friendship situation and you end it or step away from it, and even though it is better, right? Like you don't have this source of toxicity, even though it's better, you're addicted to that feeling of like maybe the being left out, the being whatever, and it like feels, even though it's better, it feels, you're like, maybe seek it again just because it's something familiar versus not having, and then you're like, well, I don't know. Do you think that's relevant?
No, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it that way. I mean, honestly, I think that there probably is some sort of familiarity that in a sick way probably does feel good when I like have a toxic friend, or like I get left out. I'm like, oh, here we go again. I think it's also part of, I could talk a lot about like core vibration of like what's just in your electromagnetic field. And I think some of these core wounds, like I know you have some about like relationships and stuff, and I clearly have some about friendships. It's like, I think that these wounds are just going to need more work in general than like you, I feel like my work is a lot of friends and your work is a lot of love, and that's always just going to kind of be a theme that we're going to have to work on in our lives, and it's just part of our soul contract. Yeah And like my love wounds, like we were talking about last night, like came from friend wounds. It's kind of like it's two sides of the same coin sometimes. I think that they're all literally connected to just wanting to be loved and seen and like chosen. At the end of the day, every inner child thing, every shadow thing is like, you just want love. You just want to be chosen. You just want to feel validated. And it's just about kind of coming back to that place where you do feel all those things, and changing your core vibration through, I believe, you know, you can do it through inner child work. You can do it through shadow work. You can do it through energetic work. Like there's so many ways to do it, but things are just going to come up and they're going to come up again. And sometimes there's new layers. I think that's what we've both seen is like, we've both done so much work on our core wounds and they still come up sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
It is hard, but that's also like, you know, when we catch up and I call you and you're like, oh, you're never going to believe like what's come up again in a new form. You just like, I think what's nice about our friendship is like, you just have all of the background of like, and like from an interesting perspective too, with like what you do and you know, how deep you've gone of just like, oh boy, like this is like, oh, I didn't know it could come up that way or like out of somewhere random. And it's like, well, what if it's related to this? And it's like, just really, I don't know. It's helpful. And like, I mean, all my friends are amazing and I like will like know my stuff and work with me, but like you just bring an interesting spin to it of like thinking about patterns and I don't know. Yeah. It's helpful.
Yeah. It's been so nice to kind of see each other through all seasons of our core wounds. And like, I can see that you actually have attracted better love in your life. Like from when we were in Baltimore.
Well, Baltimore was like, what love? Dude, I was like queen of the unrequited crush to a degree that is like insane. One time, Kristen and I were sitting in like this common area at our job where I like, you know, had a bunch of people that were making me sad by just like, I was in relationships with people that didn't know they were in a relationship with me. Like, we're nodding. For those of you if you're watching, we're nodding.
We're like, yeah.
Like, you know, that was at a time, a short time, but after college, but that was like my MO. And Kristen was like one time, like, I mean, like, what are you going to do? Like, just like be in love with someone forever who doesn't love you back. And I was like,
and you had a crush on him for like 6 months.
Oh my God, like forever. And I was like, yeah, that would be like crazy. Like I didn't even think about the idea of like moving on as like an option. Like I was very much like that. Like I just didn't think that was like a thing that you could do. And also I think like when you already said his name, so I'm going to say it again. Like when Matt broke up with you, you were like, you put your whole ass into like moving on from that. You were listening to like a ton of relationship podcasts. You were like, I'm going to move on. And I was like, again, this was like a foreign concept to me. I was like, we can do that. I was like, we can like choose to move on and choose to like do better. I was just like letting everything happen to me feeling like the ultimate like victim and like sorry for myself literally always. And it was like when you chose to do that, I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that was an option.
Didn't know we could do that.
I was just sitting here stewing in sad sauce and being like,
what was I doing
with Matt?
No, I mean, I was like, what was I doing to move on?
Yeah, I meant, yeah, with Matt. Like you were just like doing a ton of podcasts. That's when you got into yoga.
Yeah.
That's when you started like taking core power was after that.
Oh yeah.
You were just like doing a lot. You were really looking for like.
I was like, I was deep into the like anxious avoidant.
Yeah.
I was like reading Attached. I was like really like, oh my God, I'm anxious. He's avoidant. Like it was just like really, yeah, he sparked. So I got my heart broken by this boy that wasn't even my boyfriend.
That's classic.
Like we were dating for a long time. How long were we dating? Like 3 or 4 months.
3 or 4 months. Yeah.
3 or 4 months.
And he was older. He was older than us.
He was older. He was like 28 at the time. I was like 24, and he had his like
shit. You were younger. We were like, you were 23 or 22 or 23.
Oh yeah, I was like 22 or 23.
Which is like, that is a big
creep.
Age difference.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it's a normal age difference, but it's a big age difference when someone just got out of college and someone's almost 30. Like,
yeah,
those are really different.
I mean, I guess he was like around my age.
Yeah.
Dating me. Fuck. Yeah. That's weird.
Our frontal lobes were not even remotely done cooking. And this guy was like, just, you know, and you were just not on the same page. He's not your guy. And you just were like,
it was the first time I was like, okay, so I think I was listening to relationship podcasts like while we were dating, and they were
into Mark Groves.
Yeah, I'm still into Mark Groves.
He's great.
I fucking love Mark Groves.
Yeah.
And he was like, you should just ask them what you are. Like as soon as you feel it. And this has been 3 months. And I was like, okay, what are we? And he was like, I don't want anything more than this. And then
he was like bringing you presents from vacation. Remember?
I know.
What did he bring me? I don't know. But I remember he bought you a present. I feel like it was like socks or something.
Yeah, I think he did.
It was something random.
And he let me he let me borrow his suitcase for like to go home for Christmas and stuff. Like he was doing boyfriend type things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you were doing girlfriend things on a side chick salary, which is like unfair.
That was unfair. And so that was the first time I was like, wow, like I deserve better and I need to like raise my self-worth so I can have better. And then I honestly did. I mean, so we thought. I met my boyfriend of 4 years after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had us fooled.
Yeah. Oh, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah. So it's been a long journey with my love. And then, God, you were there for me like big time when I went through my breakup too.
Yeah.
Like,
I did see you a lot like right after, like, because I saw you twice in New York, and then
I had some friends in New York at the time, and I was like coming to New York a lot, weirdly.
yeah.
And so I would stay with you. And I mean, I think a really pivotal moment, or like inspiring, or I guess a moment I'm just always going to remember about our friendship, like even when I think about it sometimes it makes me like tear up, is like I was like crying on your floor
in the kitchen.
Yeah. And I was telling Amanda, like, I have to go get my stuff out of storage, like I'm gonna have to live alone for the first time. Oh my God, it's making me emotional.
I love you.
I love you. And I was like, I'm not crying because I'm sad, I'm crying because I'm so sad for this version of me. And I was like, how do you live alone? I was like, how do you put together furniture? Like, how do you get things inside your house? Like, I was so, I guess, codependent on my partner that I was like, I don't get how to do things alone. And the weird thing is, like, I lived alone before him. Like, it wasn't like I was always codependent. It was just like COVID made me codependent, I think.
Yeah. And that's not your fault.
Yeah. And you were just like, you figure it out. You can do it. You were like, you just hire someone on Thumbtack, or like, you're like, you'll have a friend that will come help you. And I'm like, no, I don't know anyone. Like, who's going to come help me? And the funny thing is like, I did move into that first apartment alone. You never came to that one. It was like down in San Diego in the city. And like, honestly, help always did come. I remember I had 7 boxes outside my apartment, and there were my couch that was like undone, and I was like, how the fuck am I gonna get this inside alone? Like, I can't carry it. I also have a bad back, so like I can't even carry things to begin with. And there was this guy that was outside walking his dog, and he was like, do you want me to help you? And I just got the help that I needed. Or I hired some people to put things together. And I really do think that having to do all that shit alone, like, brings you like, I used to say putting my apartment together alone was a spiritual fucking experience. It forces you to really be like, I actually don't need anyone.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone. And I just remember that moment. I was like sitting on the floor, and like, then I called you, I think, probably a couple months after that, and I was like, I did it. I moved.
Yeah, you did. And I never was worried that you wouldn't, but it is hard. And like, I get it. And I've never lived with anyone like romantic. And so I mean, not even like, oh, I've always done it on my own. Like, I haven't had that many roommates before. I've lived on my own for a while. But it is hard. And sometimes it can be also a really lonely experience to do those things alone. And so like, it's hard. I didn't want to be like, oh my God, you're going to have so much fun. It's going to be so like chill and great. It's like, no, it is hard. Like, you're right. Like, it is hard and it will be hard, but like, it'll be worth it. And every time you sit on that couch, or like my sectional at my first New York apartment, I lived 5 flights up. They delivered the sectional. It was in 5 pieces, thank God. But like, delivered the sectional to the ground floor, and I was like, can you guys, like, to the FedEx guys, I was like, can you help me bring it up? Like, I don't know what to do, whatever. And they were just like, no, we like legally can't, because like something with the FedEx workers' rights or whatever. I was like, well, frick. And I got this thing in 5 pieces, but up 5 flights of stairs by myself.
You did?
I did like a lift and roll. It was really hard. Like, I literally went upstairs, I tied up my sneakers, I said, this is our workout today, and this is why we lift, so that we can whatever. But like, every time I sat on that couch, I was like, I don't need, I don't need anyone. And like, when my New York apartments are weird. So like, the shelves were really thin, but went all the way up to this like 12-foot ceiling. And I put on my like Bumble profile when I first moved to New York, like, I'm really just looking for someone to help me reach the top of my shelves. But then I just got a fucking ladder. Like, you just like do like,
you just figure it out.
You are like, I don't need anyone. And it's a really empowering experience.
It's like, a frequency that you want to have.
Yeah.
Not needing anyone. Because if you think that you need someone, then you're just going to be in a relationship with like the fucking tree outside.
Yeah. You're in just the wrong thing. And so I feel like that was, I don't know. I was like, I know this is really hard, and it's a hard thing to say to someone who's like on the kitchen floor having the worst moment of their life. But like, this is something that you need to, like, I don't know why. I kept saying to you, like, I don't know why this happened to you. Like, this was really awful. And the way that it unfolded was really, really not okay. But for some reason, you need this. And like, yeah, I don't know. It's a really hard thing to say to someone who's like having that moment, but it's, I think, been really true for you. Like, I think I don't know, we're just sitting in Kristen's apartment. Like, we can see the water, this like apartment that you've like gotten for yourself at this place you always wanted to live. Like, it's really amazing. It's just like, oh wow, like you did that. You did that,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm tearing up.
Oh,
I don't know why.
It's okay.
I feel like it's because like you've really seen me, like you saw me go through it. And like, also when I was going through it with my relationships, I kind of like shut everyone out because I didn't want to talk about it because like it just hurt so much that you were one of the only people I could call. And he would just like sit there on the phone with me and be like, this is not fair, but I'll support you with whatever you do. And you were like really there for me.
I love you.
I love you.
Yeah. Also, I feel like something that is maybe we should talk about is like me being like a container for that for you, and like friendship wise, like how that was like kind of hard for you is like, because I think, I don't know, you can re-explain this if I explain it wrong, but like, no, just more like if you have a better way to say it. But like in your current like friendship circle, I was the only person that like knew him and knew like I was, you know, we were like living in our post codependent, but still really like entwined life in Baltimore when you guys met and started dating. And I saw like every moment of like you guys unfolding, and like, but then now you're friends now, and the people you're close with now like didn't know him at all and didn't like really see anything but like some of the ending. And so like I think for me sometimes I would like my existence or like would like accidentally trigger Kristen because it'd be like I was this container for like you know, some remnants of your relationship.
Yeah, like for me it was really hard because like if me and Amanda were going to talk, we were probably going to talk about the thing that triggers me the most, which was my breakup.
Yeah.
And so for like a long time I would be like, hey, I'm just going to text you when we're not talking about it because like I need to like not correlate you with the pain. And every time you would text me, I would just like get so fucking nervous. Like I don't know what it would be, but like sometimes you would just be like, hey, are you going to be in California like this time? And like it would just trigger me because like even just seeing your name, I thought it was going to come with pain.
Yeah.
And so it's been like really, I was like, I'm so happy you came to visit me because we've had so many more moments than just like, like I feel like this is the first time we've seen each other where I'm like fully out of it. Or I don't know if you think I'm fully out of it. But like,
I do.
I'm fully out of it. And it's like, I am on the other side and I'm good and I'm okay. And it's been so nice to like have this rewrite. But I will also say that since you were kind of my only friend that, I mean, you guys know I've lost a lot of friends. So like not a lot of my friends saw me through that relationship and then on the other side of it where I am now. And you were able to remind me, you know, I had breakup brain. Like I only was remembering the good things. I was only remembering like that I was so in love and like this, but like you reminded me like, Kristen, you weren't into it at first, or like you could, or like you fought a lot at first, or she was reminding me of things that I didn't even remember about the relationship like at all. And I don't think that I would still remember those things if you weren't here. Be like, yeah, Kristen, you never really were into it. Like you just forced whatever it was, you know? So
yeah, I mean, because you guys had you had a very rocky beginning, and I feel like it's very normal. I don't know what it is when like you also did have a beautiful relationship for a time. Like you really did. You really, really did. But like, so this comment is not about that, but like in general, the vibe of like somebody kind of like not convincing you to like them, but like someone you were like kind of like met about, they pursue you date them, and then all of a sudden the vibe like switches and they break up with you or whatever, and now you're like super into them, and you're like, how can I get back that like feeling of like I was so fine without you, I didn't even want this, and now you're like wrecking my world. I think sometimes it's good to like have that perspective of like, no, there was a time where you were like, if this doesn't continue, I'm fine. I don't care. Like, or like, you know, I'm okay. Like that was like a lot of the beginning. And I was like trying to, remind you of like, you used to say like these things like all the time. And obviously you don't feel like that now, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that it's good to have someone to remind you that you were okay before and you're going to be okay after. Yeah. And I had no one in my life because nobody had seen me before. Like everyone had, a lot of my friends that I met, like I would say like my soul friends that I have in my life now, they did meet me after that. And that was a beautiful thing that like God gave me so many amazing friends that I'm still friends to from this day, like right when the breakup happened, which was like, you know, it was a while ago now, but like it also, it just like sometimes you need the reminder, like, girly friend, you were so good before this. It's you're gonna be okay again. Yeah. So yeah, that was really hard. And you know, it's crazy just to think of like the seasons you go through as a 20-year-old. Like obviously I'm only 29, so I don't know what the seasons are going to be after, but like, fuck, the 20s are hard. The moves, the breakups, the friendship endings, like it's just a lot of transition all at once. And like, for the most part, you are alone for it. Like, even if, I mean, there's probably a few of you that have had the same relationship for forever, but like, I think something that I unfortunately have learned in this season, that I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but I think that I'm a realist in this sense, is like, you are alone in this world and you're not. Like, it's both. Like, you really are alone in this world. You could be with someone for 20 years and then they can decide that like, this is not the highest timeline for me anymore. And like, that's fine. And that's actually an act of love for them to leave. Right. But like, you really have to kind of be good on your own, because if you can't be good on your own, like, what do you have? Like, you came into this world alone, and like, you're gonna leave alone. And I think that God gives you along the way these amazing, beautiful friends that like make you not feel alone, but like at the end of the day, you also are alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. When you talk to a long distance friend, you're kind of sometimes giving them like all of the context yourself. So you're giving them like your view on everything, and like, because that's the only view that you have, and you like, they don't know this person, they don't know, like, they don't have any other context, they only have what you tell them. And so like, it's interesting like writing that dynamic, and then like feeling alone because I'm like, or I don't know, feeling alone in that way because you're just like, did I make all this up? Like, I'm just thinking about you and me, and like feeling that feeling of like things ending, and how weird it is to like describe to a friend at a beginning and ending of someone they've never met and will never meet.
Oh yeah.
Just like the vibe is weird. I don't know. I don't really know.
So you're saying it was nice that you had the context of like the whole thing.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, the alone thing, like, I think you're right. Like, I think that is a hard pill to swallow, of like we're kind of just alone. But I think it also can be really empowering to be like, I also always have me. I will always have me. I always have me. And I have to, Teddy. I have to also, it means like you have to invest in that relationship. Like, it means that you might and probably will have a lot of other people in your life, like romantic and not. Hi, Teddy. But you, like, the relationship with yourself is so important, because like that one is always going to be there 100% of the time, and might have other things around it, might not.
Yeah, and I always talk about how like spirituality in its own essence is like, it's realizing that God is the and. Like, it's like this and that. You're alone and you're not. Yeah, it is a hard pill to swallow, especially like if you're in a happy relationship. You probably don't want to hear, you know, that like, actually you're still alone. But I think that it is like, I really just believe that it's a really, really valuable vibration to have, of like, I'm okay alone. I love myself alone. And no matter who comes and goes, like, I will be okay, because like, I can get myself through it. And I do think it is such a reason to invest in the one relationship you are going to have for the rest of your life. Like, the one person you're going to sleep in the bed with for the rest of your life, every single night, is yourself. And so if you can't really have a good relationship with you, what do you have?
Yeah. And all the other relationships you have are based off of that one. Yeah. So it's like, what kind of other relationships do you want to have? You know, like,
if you can't love you, then you're going to just attract other people that can't love you.
Right. And like, if you think about like your journey with friendship, like your friends that you had that aren't here now are people that like you wouldn't have just become friends with as the person you are now anyway. No. So like you becoming who you are, like those other relationships crumbled away because they literally just were like no longer compatible. And I feel like that's though you coming home to you. It's not like you were just like, I'm just gonna like have this new personality, or like not new personality. You're still like, the core of you is the same, but like it's like, I'm gonna work on this, and then like everything outside reflects that. And like your friends now are really, really different, and they're really, really aligned, and like you know,
they're good.
They're
good. Yeah. So just moral of the story: seasons of life are hard, but you always have you, and you can change your relationship with yourself, which is going to really change your relationship with other people. And I think that's the hard part about life too, is like in your 20s, so much of you is changing. And so like by default, I mean, change is the only constant in life, right? But like by default, like a lot of your external world is going to change too, because you're changing. Yeah.
And like at timelines that are really like, for a lot of us, really, really different that for the first time in our lives. Because I think up until then, you're like, we're all in middle school, we're all in high school, we're all in college, we're all getting internships over the summer, we're all starting a job. Yeah. And then after that, it's like, and that's not for everybody, but for like a lot of us. And then all of a sudden it diverts, and you're like, I'm going to start a family. I'm going to like go to Dubai and like have fun. Like, and it's like, those two things are really different, and they're all happening at the same time. And it's like, you know, it's weird. 20s are weird.
Something that we've talked about too this weekend is like, you know, you have a lot of friends that are getting married right now. You're single and dating. And I think that it's really especially, I mean, I say this, I don't know if it's like actually accurate, but I think that like a little bit on the East Coast, there's more pressure.
I think so.
Than like on the West Coast. Like I feel like here, nobody really cares about your timeline. Like everyone's just like, I'm here to live life. But like on the East Coast, like how do you handle the pressure of not wanting to be further along? Because we've talked about this a lot this weekend. Like how do we just love where we are? We have to love, there's no other option but to love where you are. So like what are some tips you have for the audience of how you can just kind of let go of societal pressure and really love exactly where you are, whether you're like, especially when you're single and you want to be in a relationship or you want to be further along or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've giving advice
on it, but
yeah,
like,
it's a work in progress.
Nobody really has the answer.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I feel like in the moments where I am like just doing my thing, I'm so happy, and I really have like, I don't know, I love the life I've created for myself. I love the people I meet. Like I'm really, really, really happy. The only time I'm unhappy is when I'm comparing myself to other people. That's literally the only time I'm unhappy, is when I'm like, well, should I be doing this? Like, should I be doing this other thing? What if I like, looking at like all the alternate like paths, because like I could be married and have a child right now. I could be doing all these other things.
Some of our Under Armour friends are.
Yeah. And they're like living their best lives and they're amazing. And it's just like, that's just not what is like for me right now. But it's also like, it's kind of detaching what we were talking about earlier about like detaching worth from that. Like that does not mean that I am like better or worse than anyone else. It just is different. And so it's like remembering that has been really powerful. But honestly, yeah, I'm still working on it. I would say like, just trying to be like, that doesn't mean anything that I do or don't have this thing, because I do have like a lot of other things. And ultimately very, very happy. But it is hard. Late 20s are weird.
I think you should share that journal exercise that you did around like being, because it was really good. I was like, that's a good journal exercise, girly.
Here's your homework, listeners. Listen up. No, but I did this exercise the other day where I was thinking about like, what are the things the tangible things that I want in life, which is like, love, like a great relationship, and like wealth were the two things that I wrote down, which like slay. So I was thinking, so like, okay, these are the things I want. And I said some other things too, but those are like the big ones that I think are relatable for like most people. And then I was like, okay, well, what do I actually want? Right? Like love, I want security. Like what are the underpinnings of that? I want security for love. I want safety. That's security. That's safety. These kind of things. There's a little bit of like validation and affirmation, consistency, that kind of thing. And then for wealth, it's like freedom, flexibility, like having fun, just like stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, where do I already have all of those underpinnings in my life? Like where do I already have safety, reliability, consistency, like in my relationships, in honestly the love I have with myself? Like where do I already have all of these things? Like and then as far as wealth, where do I already have fun and freedom and flexibility? And I already have so much of that I was like, I'm just kind of training myself to like look for it more and see it in what I have now. And when I'm appreciating that, I am really, really happy. And so it's all about, I think, appreciating it and knowing that like I'm very much headed with some like velocity towards all of the things that I want. And I would be so mad at myself if I looked back and like didn't enjoy the time that I had on the in-between. Like that would be a bummer. And I feel like when we were in Baltimore, like I was just really sad, like a lot. And I feel like I
enjoy your in-between.
Yeah. And I didn't enjoy my in-betweens at all. And I'm like, I wish I could just go tell that girl, like, just have so much fun. Like it's fine. Like you're really fine. Like just have fun. Like I think I do tend to I skew very anxious and like, and I have just like, a fun mental health cocktail of a lot of just anxiety and worry. And
I feel like you've gotten a lot better though.
I mean, I've gotten a lot better at coping. I really have like really strong coping mechanisms and like kind of prevention mechanisms with just the way that I live, with like exercise and who I surround myself with and all the things, but just general lifestyle. But yeah, like I'm kind of in an older, like more mature in between now than I obviously was then. But like when I'm not enjoying it, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that?
And this is little secret, guys, little secret of your life. Like life is just a ton of in-betweens. There's never a moment where you're just like, I'm here, I'm arrived. Like it's always going to be in between of this income and that income, this job and that job, this relationship and that relationship. You're engaged now, you want to get married. You're married now, you want kids. Like you have kids now, you want this. Like I feel like life is just mastering the in-betweens. If you really can just learn to master the in-betweens, you have actually found the secret to life.
Yeah.
And it's like being happy where you are, because what is the other option, guys? Hating where you are? What are you going to do? Hate where you are?
What are you going to do? Be miserable forever?
Like,
why? Yeah.
Why? And so, yeah, I think that I think we're both in a good place of enjoying our in-betweens.
I think so too. And sometimes Kristen and I joke that like only one of us can be in a crisis at once. And it's not even because like that's actually a thing. Like if I was having a crisis, I'd make space for your crisis and vice versa. But like, it's just happened that all of our big, like if one of us is having a big rock bottom, the other one is doing like totally fine. And there's always that, like someone's always holding down the fort. And I don't know what it is timing wise, that's always been true. So we were joking this morning, like we're both doing really well, so we're kind of like
we were like I was like, can't be me, just went through one.
Yeah, you just went through one. So I'm like I mean, I kind of went through one.
We're both
like,
in our Saturn returns though, so like it's both a little rough out here. Like we're in rough waters.
Yeah
Personally, I feel like I'm still in rough waters. Not with my relationship, but like life in general has like just handed me a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah
I don't know, the plot's thick over here, but I'm
for the plot.
Yeah, it's no, it's not rough waters, but I'm like, yeah,
okay, so let's just, I feel like this was a really good conversation of just like seeing some behind the scenes. Let's end with what do you think is the biggest misconception people might have about me?
Like I feel like, and okay, I don't follow Kristen on TikTok, so I probably don't see a lot of stuff that they see, but I am all on your Instagram. I feel like that you're like just not having like, that you're not doing normal shit. I don't know, like
they think I'm not doing normal shit?
Like I feel like they probably think that you wake up standing up in a cryogenic chamber, right? And like walk out to your kitchen and like eat a bunch of goji berries and just like slip into a meditative state for 2 hours and like whatever, and are like, I don't know, like this morning we like got up and we got coffees and we split like bacon, egg and cheese, or a turkey bacon, egg and cheese slapped. Like, and we're just having like normal conversations about dogs and whatever with the people at the place. And we're just like, I don't know. I feel like we're just like a really grounded,
normal gal,
chill, normal gal. Yeah. And like, I don't know, you know,
I was telling Amanda too that I feel like in the last 5 years, I've literally gone from like being really grounded in the corporate world to like literally going through every fucking spiritual rabbit hole you can. And then like back, and like right now I've told you guys, I'm in this very human era where I'm like, I've been down every rabbit hole, and actually being on earth is the best. Like I'm really actually just want to be here and master here, because all of that is just a distraction of like what's going on here. And I think that I'm really feeling grounded right now, and I really am just like a normal girl doing normal things.
But I think even when you're in like your other rabbit holes, like I still call you and I'm like telling you about my like day to day, whatever, the drama at my work, the drama at like in my relationships, whatever. It's like, and you're not like responding with like, okay, well here's what your chart says, or like here's whatever. Like, I mean, like once in a while, but like sometimes I need that or want that.
Yeah.
But like you're just like,
tell me more.
Yeah, it's just like normal. Like, are
you okay?
Our conversations are like very
3D.
Yeah, very friend stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would think.
I love
people
that.
Would misconstrue.
Okay, then like my last thing is like, I want you to tell a funny Kristen story of just like a time in our past, because I feel like you remember so many of our funny times that
I wish I want to like.
You can think about it.
Oh my God, Kristen hates when I tell this one.
Oh no.
Kristen does this thing at the supermarket. Do you know what I'm gonna say?
No.
Kristen's like a picker. Like she takes a little bit. You know what I'm gonna say. Kristen takes like, she just takes, okay, so I was raised in a family that you take a little bit of a grape from like, if there's a bag of grapes, like you test it before, like whatever, like take a little grape, take a little whatever, like have a few snacks. We used to go to Whole Foods and literally we call it like sampler lunch or something. We would just go and we would literally
go to Harris Teeter. We would hit all of the grocery stores in town that had samples and just literally like walk around and have samples and like be like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna buy this cheese. I need to try it again. And like we would just eat lunch. Weird. Anyway, so also I feel like that's like eating disorder-esque.
Eating disorder stuff. Like little
bites.
Just little like, yeah. What is that? Taste everything, eat nothing. Yeah. So we were, whatever. So we were doing that. But anyway, we go to Whole Foods or Teeter, one of the places. And Kristen but she takes, where I was going with this is she takes take a grape from the bag to like she's just like opening stuff and having a bite and putting it back, like mostly produce, like nothing like resealable or resealable. But anyway, I would be like, I was just like, Kristen, what are you doing? Like, that's like her vibe. And she used to go and the nut butters, like the nut butters are like in this thing with a whole bunch of nuts in like a plastic jar. And you basically grind out like fresh nut butter, which is awesome. And sometimes she used to just go, there'd be like some like that was kind of halfway out and she would just like take a little bit, fine. But one time she goes to do that and she accidentally pulls the nozzle and literally an entire glob of almond butter, like a baseball size, in her hand. And I wasn't looking at her, so she goes, Amanda, and I turn around and this girl is just sitting with like a baseball size glob of almond butter just like in her hand and looking at me like, what do I do, and I was like, I like peed my pants. I couldn't stop laughing. I don't even remember what we did because you had to get rid of it because you can't go up to the cash register because they have to weigh it too. So it's like, how you can't even purchase it now. But I was like, yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That was all time. I don't know.
That was a good one.
You just with your handful of almond butter. I don't remember what we did. But.
Yeah, honestly, like even all my ex-boyfriends know this. Like if there's like those bins at the grocery store, that means free food.
Free food. Yeah. She just.
That means like everything's free. Like rules are literally just suggestions. No, this is so bad. Like don't do this. But like I will get a bag in the beginning of my grocery shopping. I will fill it up with like a ton of just like one of each, right? And I'll just snack on it throughout the store and be like, all right, I finished it. I don't do it that much anymore, but like every once in a while, come on guys, like you don't call me a bad person.
Also too, like she's not taking it, like it's like a little raisin from the raisin jar, a walnut from the walnut jar. Like you eat weird too, like in a good way. But like, so you're like you're like one bite of everything. So like it's negligible. Like the cashier that would have to check out
would be like for
one raisin and one walnut would be like literally take it. So it's fine. It's not theft. It just happened to be one time. It would be like reaching in for an almond and grabbing like a whole handful, and it just, you couldn't control it. It came out the top and it was a liquid, and it was not your fault, but it was really, really funny. I vaguely remember that, but I do remember it. God, so good.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I think that is going to complete our little bestie episode. Everyone gives Amanda some love online for being so open and just being the best friend to me, and also agreeing to come on my podcast because I was like, Amanda, will you come on my podcast? And she was like, yeah, if you want. I don't know what to talk about. And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like we have so much perspective of each other. And so I love you so much. Thank you for being here through 10 years of our crazy fucking lives. And cheers to the next 10.
Cheers to the next 10. I love you more. And I think everyone out there, like if Kristen's your virtual friend, like I'm very lucky to have you as a real friend. And I feel like you're the perfect person to be like putting everything out there, because I think, making you and what you brought to me like more accessible to other people is a gift. And so we're all very lucky. I love you. Thanks for having me.
I love you. All right. Bye guys. See you next week.
Bye.